Hi and welcome to another part of the JavaScript tutorials, and in this part we're going to continue with the DOM topic. So as you can remember, in the previous tutorial we focused on the text content and how to change that, but here in this part we're going to also cover how we can change or manipulate the images inside of our HTML document. So here, because we have a very busy form right here, I'm going to create a new file here. So let's open up a new terminal. You can also create the file manually, but I prefer doing it this way. So touch, and I can call this image.html, and then I can run code space dot. It will open up a new window for me on VS Code. So okay, because it's opened up, this folder is opened up, we don't need to do that, but we probably need to open the file here from right over here. So actually I need to open the file. So we've got, I've also added some images for us to work with them. So here we go. Now I'm gonna copy and paste some of the codes from right over here, because we don't want to do it again. And I'm going to remove the codes that we've written here instead of our JavaScript first. And so let me also close the terminal, and then also let us remove all these p tags right over here. So we've got the body, and we've got the script, and we've got the HTML. Right now I'm going to add a tag for the image, img, and then I'm going to give it an ID. So the ID is what we're going to use for calling our DOM. So here, actually for our element, so here I can call this my image, and then what I'm going to do is to add also the source of the file. So here I'm going to say, for example, Arashtad. So let me check what we have right over here. Let me open the new terminal and run ls. So here we have arashtad.jpg. I'm going to copy and paste the name of the file. Oh, just Control Z, and so here I'm going to press actually copy and then press Control V, and right over here we've got all we wanted. So I'm going to close the tag, and we can save this. And now we can also run this with the live server. So let me run image.html with the live server. And as you can see, the Arashtad image has been opened up. Let me maximize this for you to better see this. So now imagine that we want to open up another image. So we want to do this instead of the JavaScript code. And just as I've told you earlier, it might not make any sense, but in the future tutorials you will see that they're going to be so much useful when you want to use it instead of the project. So document dot get element by ID, and then we enter the ID of our got, it was my image, and that's it. So dot. And then here, instead of .inner HTML, we can write src for the source of the file of the image. And here I can enter, so let me open the terminal another time. And so we had dom.png, that's inside of my directory. Oh, I need to right click and then copy and paste it right over here. So now that I've done this, I'm going to save this, and as you can see, the DOM logo will appear here on the browser page. So we've managed to change the HTML file here instead of the text, and so let me comment this part again, and you'll see the image once again. And if I uncomment it, you'll see the image. So that's how JavaScript DOM can change the image and manipulate the images tag right over here. It's just as simple as calling the ID and changing the source of the file. So now let me delete these two bashes right over here, and so we don't need this. Another thing we can do with the DOM is to directly write something to our elements. So imagine that we have no tag right over here, but we want to add something to the page directly from the JavaScript code using DOM. So here we use document.write, and for example here I can say this is the image of for example DOM. So I can save this. As you can see here, it's been written, this is the image of DOM. Now imagine that here I want to also give this, so give this a date, so give a date to this right over here. So for example here, in order to add the date in the next line, I can write document.write another time, and instead of writing something I can call the date function and save this. And as simple as that, you will be able to see that the time appears right over here. So here, as you can see, it's the time, Pacific Standard Time, and the time is right over here. If I save the code another time, probably after some time, the time right over here will also change. So now let's get back to the previous example that we had inside of the previous tutorial. So here in index.html, I'm going to work and play around the form. So let me also delete these p tags right over here. We don't need them anymore. So I'm going to remove them. Let me save that. And so this is a p tag with no ID. Also remove this one as well. So now we only have the form and the login form right over here, and also we've got this p tag with ID called demo right over here. So now imagine that we don't have the default values, and the values are empty right over here, and the user should enter the username and password. Otherwise we want to show the user some kind of alert that it should the forms need to have a value. So this is one of the useful practices for using the DOM itself. So you might have wondered where do we use DOM and what is the real application of DOM. This is one of the applications. So we want to see if one of our HTML elements has a kind of property, and if that doesn't happen, then we want to show the user to enter that inside of the form. So here we have the form for the username and the password. So I'm going to make some changes on the HTML elements. So here we had the form with the ID. I'm going to change this to, for example, name, and then I'm going to add some other properties right over here. So I'm going to edit this. So first of all, we've got the name. We can add action and then add some Node.js code or PHP code, whatever. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna add, for example, onSubmit, meaning that when it is submitted, the form is submitted by the user, then here we're going to activate some kind of function where it checks whether the form has a value, and then it will show me some kind of alert if I don't enter anything inside of it. So here I'm going to write return alert. This is the name of the function that I'm going to write. You can name it anything you want. So return alert, and this is a function that is going to be activated, and then the method is post. Method equals to post, So let me check if everything's fine, and I guess something seems to be wrong. So let me maximize this to have a better view of it, and now this should be fine right over here. So the method is right after here, so this needs quotation mark as well. Now it should be it. And then another change that I'm going to make on this is to remove the default values from the form, because we're going to see if it has any value at all. So here we also have the submit, which I'm not going to change. It has a name and a value. So here, let me change this. No, this one doesn't need any change. So here, instead of the printing the elements which we don't need, we're going to create. So let me also remove this p tag right over here, because we don't need it anymore. And here also document.get elements by ID, and so we can comment all of these lines all together. So right now what I'm gonna do is to write the function that I wanted to write. So here the first step that I'm gonna do is to write function, and then I'm going to leave it free. So the name of the function, which is return alert, and then I'm going to open up the brackets, and what I'm going to do next is to run let x equals to document.forms, and the form is plural right over here. So the name of the form right over here is login, so I'm going to enter login, and then here we want to check one of these two. So for example, imagine that the password is necessary. Here we want to work on the password, the username doesn't matter, but we want to also add that as well. So also let me make this correct. So we have the username, the name here is username, and so this is the x. So we want to check x whether it has any value. So in order to check that, the code I'm going to write is to if x equals to empty text, then what I'm going to do is, so let's open the brackets, and so I'm going to create an alert on my browser and say that it's for example, if say that username. So because here we're focusing on the username should be filled. So okay, this is a warning that will be given to the user, and then we're going to return false. So return false, and that's it. So right now we've closed the brackets, and that's it. So let's save this and come right over here and enter nothing here and submit. So let's see what happens. We seem to have an error. So what we need to do right over here is to also add the value. So I'm going to write dot value and then save this. So now if we enter nothing here, you will be able to see that this alert appears right over here. So let me make this also half of the page. Now I can click OK, and it will be redirected to a page that is unknown. So imagine that I want to also do this for the password, right? So here I can write let y equals to, and then write the same thing here, copy and paste it right over here, this time for password, and password Okay, and then this is y. So here I can use or inside of my if. So or y equals to empty. So I can here write both username and password. Should be filled. So let's save this and submit, and as you can see, both username and password should be filled. If I fill one of them, so for example the username, submit, again the same thing appears. And if I write something on the password, submit, and it will be redirected to the page. So because we don't have any action, so if I add the action and we redirect it to a specific page for each one of these, I can then write over here action, and then for example my PHP file or whatever backend file that I've written. So anyway, that's it for this part of the tutorial. In the next ones we're also going to continue the rest of the done part.